I used to think I was someone who didn't know what fear was. In our group of friends, I was always the first to step into the darkness, the one holding the flashlight, leading the way when we explored abandoned houses. But after that night at Craigmilla, I don't even dare to look in a mirror anymore. It's not because I'm afraid of the dark. It's because I'm afraid of what might look back at me from the other side. That day was shrouded in mist. The sky over Edinburgh was covered in a thick, gray fog, as if someone had hung a cold curtain over the entire city. Hamish was the one who suggested the idea. Like always, Craigmilla, the famously haunted castle, what could be more fun? Ailey and Fraser all nodded. It was a Friday evening, no rain, no wind, just a damp chill that seeped into your bones. We climbed over the fence around midnight, carrying 2 flashlights, a GoPro camera, and a small speaker to play white noise. Hamish said it would help trigger paranormal phenomena. I didn't believe it, but I let him bring it anyway. We'd done weirder things before. Craigmilla stood there, silent in the mist, like a sleeping stone beast. The walls were covered in moss, the main entrance was half collapsed, and the windows were like empty eye sockets. I didn't think anything of it as I stepped through the doorway. That was my first mistake. The ground floor was covered in a thin layer of dust, the passageways winding like a maze. Fraser, the tallest of our group, kept having to duck under the low stone arches. Our footsteps echoed with each step, and, at one point I thought I heard a 5th set of footsteps following us. I turned around. No one was there. We walked through the main hall, an empty room, the far wall bearing a faded carving, an inverted cross. Ailey muttered, "Creepy," then shone her flashlight on it. There was something like fingernail scratches on the stone, long, deep, and seemingly fresh. That's when I started to feel like something was wrong. The air felt thicker, heavier, as if there was more than just air surrounding us. Hamish was still filming. He grinned, holding the GoPro towards me. "Isla, say something. This is the opening for our next paranormal exploration episode." I forced a smile, but my hands were starting to feel ice cold. And I was sure that smell wasn't coming from us. The metallic scent of blood, mixed with the smell of rotting wood, and something acrid like burnt human skin. Then Fraser discovered a small stone door hidden behind a tattered tapestry. It opened to reveal a spiral staircase leading downwards. "Does anyone know if Craigmilla has a basement?" I asked. "Not sure, but let's go check it out," Hamish said eagerly. Down there the atmosphere changed completely. No more echoes, no more drafts. Just a suffocating silence, like being in a tomb. The room in the basement wasn't large. It was damp. In the center stood a large, upright mirror, its frame grotesquely carved with claw-like shapes and contorted human faces. "What the hell?" Ailey whispered. As I approached, the first thing I saw wasn't my reflection in the mirror. It was another figure, standing behind us in the room. I turned my head immediately. No one was there. But in the mirror, it was still there. Closer. Blurry, a female figure with long hair obscuring its face. We all took a step back simultaneously. "Let's get out of here," I said quietly. Hamish, seemingly hypnotized, kept walking towards the mirror. "Can't you hear it? She's saying something." "Hamish, no," I yelled. He reached out and touched the surface of the mirror. And the stone door behind us slammed shut, closing with a thunderous crash that echoed through the earth. We were trapped. There was no phone signal in the basement. No way out. Fraser pounded on the door until his hands were bleeding. Ailey whispered prayers, her face as white as a sheet. And me? I heard the whisper. Very close, very clear, as if someone was standing right behind my neck, one by one. The flashlights flickered. Hamish's camera turned on and off by itself. The mirror began to vibrate slightly, like the surface of water. And then, a hand reached out from within it. Cold, grayish blue with black, sharp fingernails. I don't clearly remember what happened next. All I know is that I woke up the next morning on the cold ground. The basement door was wide open. Fraser wasn't there. Ailey wasn't there. Hamish wasn't there. Only me. And the mirror was empty. I ran from there without looking back. When the police arrived, they searched the entire castle. No one, no bloodstains, no camera. Nothing. They told me I was delusional, that my friends must have gone off somewhere. But I know they're still there in that mirror. Because every night when I turn off the lights, the mirror in my room slowly fogs up. And in that haze I see Hamish. His eyes are empty. And his lips move. Isla, don't look in the mirror. My night shift at the convenience store ended at 2 in the morning. The October chill of Dublin seeped through my thin jacket, making me hunch my shoulders as I stepped out onto the street. Usually I walked home, the streets so deserted and quiet that only the echo of my own footsteps could be heard. But tonight my stomach was rumbling, urging me to stop by the small kebab shop on the intersecting street. The fragrant smell of grilled meat and the rhythmic clatter of the vegetable chopping knife always had a strange allure at this hour. As I received the hot kebab from the middle-aged man with a kind smile, my eyes inadvertently caught sight of an old, dark blue van parked in the shadows of the opposite alley. It was scratched and rusty, looking like it hadn't been serviced in a long time. But what caught my attention wasn't its appearance, but the figure sitting inside. The dim yellow streetlights cast enough light for me to see at least 3 men. They sat in silence, not talking, just staring out towards the street. A cold sense of unease crept into my mind. There was something very unsettling about their appearance. Their eyes seemed to be scrutinizing, hiding something unpredictable. I tried to ignore it, telling myself that perhaps they were just people resting after a long day. But as I stepped out of the kebab shop, still feeling their gaze on my back, that unease only intensified. Instead of taking my usual route, I decided to take a shortcut through St. Stephen's Green. During the day, it's a beautiful park, vibrant with the colors of flowers and greenery, a place where Dubliners come to relax. But at night, when the iron gates close, it takes on an eerily quiet atmosphere. The tall trees become strange, dark shapes, and the deserted stone paths seem to hold the ghostly tales that locals often tell. I quickened my pace, trying to shake off the uncomfortable feeling that was surrounding me. The sound of dry leaves rustling under my feet was clearly audible in the encompassing silence. Suddenly, as I passed a row of ancient trees, my heart skipped a beat. The dark blue van was there again, parked right outside the park gates under the faint streetlights. This time, unease had turned into genuine fear. It couldn't be a coincidence. Why was that van here? Why were those men looking at me? I hurriedly pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling as I looked for Liam's number, my best friend. The ringing seemed to last forever, making each passing second feel heavy. Finally, Liam answered, his voice groggy with sleep. "Finn? What's up, man? It's late." "Liam, I think someone's following me," I whispered, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "I just saw a suspicious van at the kebab shop, and now it's right outside the park." Liam's voice instantly became alert. "Where are you?" "I'm coming right now." I quickly told him my location, trying to observe my surroundings. The darkness in the park was thick, with only a few weak streetlights casting pale patches of light on the path. I felt like hundreds of eyes were watching me from the shadows. Just a few minutes later, I saw Liam's figure running towards me from the direction of the gate. His face clearly showed worry. "Are you sure? Maybe you're just overthinking it." "No, I'm sure," I said urgently. "I've seen them twice now, and the way they looked, there was something really strange about it." We both walked deeper into the park, trying to remain calm but unable to shake off the feeling of unease that was enveloping us. The wind blowing through the tall trees created eerie whistling sounds, and the swaying shadows of the trees looked like lurking ghosts. Suddenly, from behind a large bush, we heard footsteps. Slow, steady footsteps, as if someone was deliberately following us. My heart pounded in my chest. "Someone's there," Liam whispered, gripping my arm tightly. We stopped, holding our breath to listen. The footsteps also stopped. Silence enveloped the space, with only the faint whistling of the wind. "We should get out of here," I said, my voice trembling slightly. We turned to head back towards the gate, but just then, from out of the darkness, 3 men stepped out. They were the same men I had seen in the van. Their faces were cold, devoid of any expression. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows on them, making them look even more menacing. One of them, the tallest with a long scar on his cheek, spoke in English with a strange accent. "Where are you two going in such a hurry?" Liam and I stood frozen, unsure how to respond. Fear gripped my heart like an invisible hand. We were just walking home," Liam stammered. The man smirked, a thin, unfriendly smile. "At this hour? You seem to be lost." The other 2 men moved closer, surrounding us. I could smell cigarette smoke and a foul, indescribable odor coming from them. "What do you want?" I managed to say, my voice trembling but trying to sound calm. The scarred man didn't answer immediately, but just looked us up and down with a scrutinizing gaze. The silence stretched, suffocating. Finally, he spoke, his voice deep and hoarse. "We just want to have a little chat." But his eyes and his smile said something completely different. I knew we were in real danger. Suddenly, Liam pushed me hard behind him and lunged towards the park gate, shouting, "Run, Finn!" I was startled, but I understood his intention. Without hesitation, I turned and ran after Liam. The frantic sound of our footsteps echoed in the night, mixed with the heavy footsteps of those chasing behind us. My heart pounded like it wanted to jump out of my chest. I could hear Liam's ragged breathing right beside me. We ran as fast as we could through the dark paths of the park, not daring to look back. Finally, we reached the gate, burst out onto the street, and ran at full speed towards the brightly lit residential area. Only when we were hidden behind rows of tall buildings did we dare to stop, gasping for breath. That night, we didn't dare go home. We went to Liam's place and stayed up all night, recounting what had happened. We didn't know who those men were, what they wanted. But their cold eyes and thin smiles still haunted my mind. Since that night, I've never dared to walk alone late at night again. And every time I pass St. Stephen's Green, I always feel a cold sense of unease, as if the ghosts in the park are still watching me from the darkness. I don't know if we truly escaped danger, or if we just temporarily evaded those terrifying strangers. The fear is still there, smoldering like a scar that will never fully heal in my mind. I've lived in this wooden house for nearly 60 years, ever since I was a boy following my father out to sea. The salty tang of the ocean has seeped into every grain of the wood, the rhythmic crashing of the waves like the familiar breath of my life. But now, that familiarity carries a cold loneliness, ever since Astrid left. The upstairs bedroom, where we spent so many warm nights together, is now just a silent void, a wound that will never heal in my heart. That night, the fire in the hearth crackled, casting pale orange streaks across my aged face. Bjorn, my large and loyal Newfoundland, lay obediently at my feet, occasionally letting out a soft groan as if to comfort his master lost in memories. Outside, the wind howled in gusts, slamming against the wooden planks, carrying the bone-chilling cold of the North Sea. I took a sip of my bitter coffee, my eyes unconsciously drifting towards the wooden staircase leading upstairs. Suddenly, amidst the shimmering light of the flames, I caught a fleeting glimpse of a figure standing silently by the bedroom window. The shape was tall and thin, with long hair hanging loose, looking out at the pitch-black night sea. My heart seemed to stop. For a moment, my reason tried to deny what I had just seen. Perhaps it was just an illusion, caused by the flickering firelight and my aging, dimming eyes. But a cold, piercing sensation ran down my spine, telling me otherwise. I whispered, "Astrid?" My voice was lost in the howling wind. The figure upstairs remained still, without a single movement. Bjorn lifted his head, his dark eyes staring intently at the staircase, then let out a low growl, a deep, uneasy sound I had never heard from him before. That night I couldn't fall asleep. The image of the figure upstairs haunted my mind. Had someone broken into the house? But why would they stand so silently? And why did Bjorn react so strangely? In the nights that followed, the unease within me grew. I began to hear soft footsteps upstairs in the late hours, when everything else was silent. The footsteps were very faint, as if someone was tiptoeing, but still enough to jolt me awake. Each time, Bjorn would nudge his head into my hand, whimpering softly, his eyes fixed on the ceiling with worry. Then one night, amidst the cold stillness of the darkness, I suddenly smelled a familiar scent, faint but distinct, the fragrance of lavender. It was Astrid's favorite scent, a scent I hadn't smelled since the day she left. The fragrance permeated every corner of the house, both gentle and poignant, stirring within me sweet memories and the unceasing pain of loss. One morning when I woke up, I felt that something was different in the living room. The weak sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the old wooden table where I always kept Astrid's photographs. I was startled to see that all the photos, the beautiful moments we had captured together, had been turned upside down. Astrid's smiling face was now hidden beneath the cold surface of the photo paper. My reason began to waver. I tried to find a logical explanation for all of this. Perhaps the wind had blown in and knocked them over? But the windows were tightly shut. Perhaps I had accidentally knocked them over while cleaning, but I was certain I hadn't touched them. Fear began to creep into every cell of my body. The feeling of a strange presence in the house became increasingly clear. I no longer felt safe in my own home. Could it really be Astrid returning? But why would she be silent? Why would she cause these strange occurrences? Or was it some other mysterious force, a lost soul searching for something in this solitary wooden house? I began to live in constant anxiety. Every small sound, every strong gust of wind made me jump. Night became an obsession when the footsteps upstairs and the scent of lavender would return, reminding me of that unseen presence. Bjorn stayed by my side as if he also sensed that something was wrong. Sometimes he would let out long, mournful howls, echoing out to the vast night sea, like a desperate prayer sent to unseen forces. I had thought about calling the neighbors in the nearest town, but then I hesitated. They would think I was a senile old man, having hallucinations due to loneliness and old age. I was used to handling things myself, just like all those years adrift on the sea. But tonight, the fear within me had reached its peak. I was sitting by the fireplace trying to read an old book, but my eyes couldn't focus on the words. Suddenly, Bjorn's hackles rose, his eyes fixed on the staircase, and he growled fiercely. His growl was no longer a soft unease, but an angry warning. My hand trembling, I picked up the oil lamp and slowly ascended the stairs. The wooden steps creaked beneath my feet, echoing in the terrifying silence of the house. When I reached the bedroom door, I stopped, took a deep breath, and slowly opened it. The weak light of the oil lamp cast into the pitch-black room. The smell of dampness and cold hit me directly. The room was empty, nothing changed from the days when Astrid was alive. But then my eyes stopped on the large mirror standing at the end of the bed. In the dim light, I saw a figure standing behind me. I whirled around, startled. No one was there. But when I looked in the mirror again, the figure was still there. A tall, thin shape with long hair hanging loose, just like what I had seen the first night. But this time I could see more clearly. Was a woman. Her face was pale, her deep black eyes staring intently at me without any expression. And then I recognized her. The long white dress she was wearing, the long flowing black hair, the faint scent of lavender in the air. It was Astrid. But her eyes, why were they so cold and lifeless? A profound fear, colder than the North Sea, enveloped me. I wanted to scream, but my throat was constricted. I wanted to run, but my legs seemed to be frozen. The figure in the mirror slowly raised her hand, her long, gaunt fingers touching the surface of the glass. A pale, sad smile appeared on her white face. And in that moment, I heard a whisper, very faint, but clear enough for me to understand. "Elias, I'm cold." The whisper vanished into the silent space. The figure in the mirror also disappeared. Only I remained, standing alone in the cold bedroom, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. That night I didn't sleep. I sat by the fireplace with Bjorn, staring at the burning flames, trying to dispel the cold that still clung to my soul. I didn't know if it was really Astrid. But I knew one thing: this seaside wooden house, which had once been my happy home, had now become a haunted place, where the past and present mingled in a hazy mist of fear and loneliness. And I, perhaps, would have to live with this fear until the end of my days.